Hello friends, Namaskar. Today we will discuss the international organizations in which we have the specific points such as United Nations. The United Nations and its organs or its bodies are very important for MPSC and UPSC competitive examinations. Means that the questions which are frequently asked from United Nations and its bodies such as Security Council, UNESCO, UNICEF, WTO and other organs. So friends, we know what is United Nations. So today we will discuss what is United Nations, how it forms, what is the what we can say the base for this United Nation formation, and what was the consequences for the formation of United Nations. So in the first part of this United Nations, we will discuss everything about United Nations. So let's start. The introduction starts, friend. Today we discuss the introduction for United Nations. What is the United Nations? So it is a very general question and its answer is United Nations is a unique organization of independent countries. Means they are sovereign and they are supreme for themselves. Not any colony or not any slavery country. Okay. So United Nations is a unique organization of independent countries that have come together to work for world peace and social progress. The world peace and social progress is the main agenda behind the formation of United Nations. The organization formally came into the existence on the 24th October 1945, which is celebrated as 24th October as a United Nations Day, with the 51 countries initially considered as a founding members for the United Nations. Till date, there are then 193 countries which has the membership of United Nations. So the United Nations is like a world government? No, it's totally wrong. United Nations is not a world government. It is the government, means the government represents the countries and the people, such as Indian government, which represents the India and its peoples. The United Nations represents neither a particular government nor any one nation. Means the United Nations is a combination or a united for all other we can say that all other 193 countries which are world over. Okay, so it represents all its members and does only what the member states decide that it should do. Means the main agenda for what is the particular country's problem or what is the particular area's problem, okay, it is the main representation of the United Nations. So switch to the next point. Is there a set of rules or a particular principles that guides the United Nations in its work? Yes, there is a charter of United Nations, such as India has the Constitution of India. Okay, Constitution of India is nothing but the fundamental law of country or fundamental law of India, through which or according to which we can work or our government is work day-to-day life or daily workings. There, similar to that, the United Nations also has a charter. It is a set of guidelines, or we can say that it is a set of protocols, rules and regulations. Means that how the explains the rights and the duties of each member, how a particular member can perform its duties, how it is a signatory to the particular set of rules to achieve its goal, okay, for themselves and all over the world. When a United Nation becomes a member of when a nation becomes a member of the United Nations, it accepts the aims and the rules of that particular charter, and after that then it can only sign the signatory for the United Nations. Next point is, how did the United Nations begin? The idea of the United Nations was born during the Second World War, which was fought between the Central countries and allies in the 1939 to 1945, during which India was a colony of the British or the United Kingdom. World leaders who had collaborated to end the war felt a strong need for mechanisms that would help bring peace and stop future wars. Means during the World War II, there was a very devastating consequences of the World War II. Means, for example, we can take the big devastating example of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, on which the US dropped the two heavy bombs such as Fat Boy and etc. These are the very devastating consequences for the World War II, and world leaders had collaborated to end the war, to fill the strong need for the mechanism and the world peace. Okay, they realized that this was the possible only if all the nations work together. Means there is the need for unitization or the united countries for the global organization. The United Nations was to be that organization. The only United Nation is the main organization which can control all over the issues of the world, all over the 193 countries. The UN has four main purposes. First one is to keep peace throughout the world. Number second is to develop the friendly relation among the nations, to work together to help poor people live better lives, to conquer the hunger, that is MDGs and SDGs, and disease and illiteracy, to curb the HIV, to curb Ebola, to encourage the respect for each other's rights, that is human rights, natural rights and others, and freedoms. Okay, this is the third main purpose of the United Nations. And last purpose of the United Nations, that is the fourth one, is to be a center for helping the nations achieve their goals. Means to eradicate the poverty, to eradicate hunger, to eradicate some disease and the illiteracy, in which the United Nations helps the nations. Next, where did the name United Nations comes from? Actually, the United Nations was suggested by the United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was the first officially used in 1942 when the representatives of 26 countries signed the declaration by the United Nations. But unfortunately, as a tribute to the President Roosevelt, who died in the few weeks before the signing of this charter, unfortunately, the Roosevelt's death, all those present at the San Francisco conference agreed to adopt the name United Nations to commemorate the leader. That is, who was that leader? That is the Franklin Roosevelt. Okay. How is the United Nations structured? So United Nations is a big organization which represents all over all the countries of the world, and it has almost a whole country or one organization. Okay, so it has the main 6 organs. United Nations has 6 organs. The first one is General Assembly, second one is Security Councils. Security Council has the 5 permanent members such as China, Russia, that is USSR then. Now USA, French and United Kingdom. These are the 4 permanent, 5 permanent, that is P5. Number 3rd is the Economic and Social Council. 4th one is the Trusteeship Council. 5th one is the International Court of Justice, which is placed at the Hague, Netherlands, and the Secretariat. All those organs are based at the United Nations headquarters in the New York, except for the International Court of Justice, which is located at the Hague, Netherlands. Okay, only the International Court of Justice is at the Hague, Netherlands, and all other remaining 5 organs are at the New York in the United States. What are the official languages of the United Nations? So one question arises here. All over the world, all countries, 193 countries are the members of this United Nations. Each country has its different language. How we know what this is the United Nations? So officially there are the 6 languages in the United Nations, such as Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian and Spanish. But the working languages at the UN Secretariat are the English and French. Okay. If for example, if Indian representative wants to share their ideas or the speech, at that time they can perform their speech in their particular local language, but the speech recognition which will convert their speech into the English, French or their respective languages which will working in the English or the French. Okay, So United Nations family or the UN Charter establishes the 6 main organs. The first one is the General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, Trusteeship Council, and International Court of Justice, and last one is the Secretariat. Okay, this is the diagrammatic representation of the United Nations. Five members, 5 organs. Okay, UN General Assembly, Security Council, Economical and Social Council, International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat. So next point is United Nations Secretary General. United Nations Secretary General is very important, as we know that he or she represents all the United Nations. Okay, so current working is the Antonio Guterres, which is from the Portugal's ex-prime minister, and he is now currently working as the United Nations Secretary General. United Nations Secretary General was the Ban Ki-moon, who was from South Korea, and before him Kofi Annan from Ghana was the Secretary General of the United Nations. Now currently the Kofi Annan is in news, due to which the Rohingyas from the Myanmar, and due to their immigration point, they have appointed as the committee's head, that is Kofi Annan. Okay, so next point is General Assembly. The General Assembly is currently all the members of the United Nations. Currently 192 represents the General Assembly. Each nation, rich or the poor, large or small, has one vote. Means we can say that the decision of, if some country wants to share their decisions or share their ideas, they only have the single vote. Okay, similar China has one vote, India has one vote, or similar any Maldives, etc. countries, because of their small size, they also have their similar vote, that is one vote and one country. So decision on such issues as international peace and security, admitting new members, and UN budget are decided by 2/3 majority. Each nation, rich or poor, large or small, has one vote. Means vote proportion is same. Decision on such issues as international peace and security, admitting new members, and the UN budget are decided by 2/3 majority. 2/3 majority for what? Peace and security, international peace and security, admitting new members, and the UN budget are decided by 2/3 majority, and other matters are decided by the simple majority. Okay, so General Assembly's regular session begins each year in the September, and continues throughout the year. The General Assembly is the main deliberative, policy making, and representative organ of the United Nations. The best example for this is the Millennium Development Goal, which was started from 2005 to 2015, which was end on 2015, and from 2015 to 2013 there is the Sustainable Development Goal. Means this is the main policy making body of the United Nations and the representative body of the United Nations also. So current session of the General Assembly was 72nd, that is current session is the 72nd current. So the last September was the current session, and it was 72nd session of General Assembly. So what is the functions of General Assembly? So first function is to discuss and make recommendations on any subject except those being dealt with at the same time by the Security Council. Security Council's functions are not discussed in the General Assembly sessions. Next one is to discuss the questions related to military conflicts and arms race. For example, our main debatable point is the Jammu and Kashmir with India and Pakistan. Okay, it is the best example for this. To discuss the ways and means to improve the state of children, youth, women, and others. For example, MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, SDGs, and other health related issues. To discuss the issues of sustainable development and human rights. Okay, international human rights, that is United Nations Human Rights Council was also there. Okay, and last is to decide how much each member country should pay to run the United Nations and how this money is spent on. Okay, is spent on particular country, for example on Ebola, that is the worldwide emergency for the health issues. These are the main functions of United General Assembly. So, one country, one vote. We have already decided this. One country, one vote. In the General Assembly, each member has one vote. Okay? Each country means each member has one vote only. This rule applies to all the nations, large and small, poor and rich, etc. China has over 1 billion people. For example, it has one vote only. Similarly, Palau, one of the smallest UN member country, has the 17,000 people only. So it too has one vote, which is equal to the China. Means China and Palau represent the same vote, means one country, one vote for the United Nations General Assembly. Some recent actions by the General Assembly was at the United Nations Summit in 2000 and reconfirmed in 2005. World leaders set a goals in landmark Millennium Declaration to make the world of the 21st century and safer and better place. For example, second most example, 2005 to 2015 Millennium Development Goals formed as in the 2015 Millennium Development Goal, that is MDGs was expired. After that, in 2015, 2016 to 2030, they were decided as the Sustainable Development Goals. This is also decided by the General Assembly. So friends, this is all about the United Nations and United Nations General Assembly, how United Nations was formed, how the United Nations work, what are their members, what are their official languages, what are their vote proportion, what is the General Assembly, United Nations General Assembly, how their secretaries work, who were their secretaries, etc. We have decided in this part first of the United Nations. That is everything about United Nations. So if you like this particular video, so share, subscribe and like our channel and share this with your friends for their knowledge. If you want any recommendations or valuable reply, so we can comment, so you can comment also. Thanks for watching.